Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today I want to present you the first Swedish tech tree tank, and it is the Luftvärnsterrängdragbil M40. It is the rank 2, battle rating 3.0 Swedish SPA. It looks straight out of from Mad Max. I absolutely love the look of it, and I also kind of like the performance, except the mobility in mud, which is something that is absolutely awful, but this is down to the fact that it is a wheeled truck. So what do you expect in War Thunder? Mobility for cars? Lol. Wrong game, mate. And so the reason why I played this is because, I didn't really bother with top tier too much, and I just wanted to play something truly Swedish. And I also got gifted by the RNG gods after the battle, the RNG lottery, a talisman on this one. So I thought, I could at least grind a little bit the low tiers with a little bit of fun, see what this thing is like. And it is pretty nice, although some few things are a bit confusing and not what you kind of expect from its performance when you compare it to some other nations' SPAs that look very similar. Now, it is equipped with a single 40mm Lvtdgb M36 cannon with 144 rounds of ammunition in total. You have a rate of fire of 120 shots per minute, so reload rate is 0.5 seconds. And the one thing is, if you pull the trigger, there is a substantial recoil, especially if you're aiming over the side. More on this in a moment. Then let's talk about the gun handling, which is actually, for low tier not bad. We have 20 degrees per second targeting speed, so horizontal traverse. We have also a vertical traverse of 23 degrees per second, and you have a 360 degrees field of fire. Now, on paper it says 85 degrees of gun elevation, which I think is true, and then 10 degrees of gun depression. And this is a little bit not true. First of all, the obvious thing is over the front and over the back of the vehicle, there is some steel shielding that prevents it from getting the depression. So over the front, you have 0 degrees of gun depression. It should be 1 or 2 degrees, according to what it's physically able to achieve. But again, Gaijin has not modeled this yet. Probably something that I hopefully will fix later. The same goes for over the rear of the vehicle, but then you think, haha, 10 degrees of gun depression over the side, but no, it's like 3 degrees of gun depression, and I have absolutely no idea why. Maybe the aiming binoculars, not binoculars, but the aiming sights will block it, but again, no physical contact. It should depress further, and that obviously highly limits its effectiveness when it comes to places when it just can't aim at an enemy tank. Then let's talk about the mobility. Well, you have a 140 horsepower strong engine, a 9-ton tank, so the horsepower to ton ratio is roughly in the region of 15, which is again not bad. And on paved road, you easily hit your top speed of 44 kilometers per hour forwards and 6 kilometers per hour in reverse. On a paved road, it is really fast, and then you have one problem. If you try to come to a standstill and you simply press the S key, all the wheels block and you're drifting to the side, completely out of control. The only way to regain control is to go full power again, so W key, which is weird. And you think you can control here by pressing A and D? No, it doesn't work. So it's safer to crash with full speed into a building or a tank wreck to come to a standstill, or you know how exactly the vehicle behaves and you just let it then slide the way that you want. But the gun traverse can't keep up with the side sliding, so that is something that you have to keep in mind. Then let's talk about the armor, and well, what armor? It's like somewhere between 15 and 10 millimeters, and even the cool gun shielding doesn't really help you. And it is very easy to hull break, it is very easy to strafe with aircraft, it dies extremely easy. You only have one driver, not two, and so, well, there is just the very simple solution to shoot the guys in the back of the gun or at the back of the gun with the MGs. They have no cover, none at all. So everything can with ease kill this thing. And then the other thing is that we have to talk about the ammunition, because this is pretty funny. So you have the default belt, and it has 50% high explosive shells and 50% APC, armor piercing capped shell, and that has a whopping penetration of 79 millimeters, which sounds really good. But again, it's like a 50-50 chance if you hit the enemy with a high explosive shell or with a AP shell. Then the high explosive belt has a 3-to-1 ratio of high explosive and APC rounds, again with a max pen of 79mm. The funny thing is then the armor piercing belt that has a AP to HE ratio of 3-to-1 has then only 66mm of penetration for the semi-armor piercing and high explosive incendiary shells, which is very interesting because they behave like the German 37mm AP rounds on, something like the Coelian or the Ostwind or the Ostwind 2. And that is because it has a bursting charge, so it can one-shot tanks or with a few hits just delete them. However, as you can see in the background, very often I then don't have the high explosive shells available versus aircraft, and then I have the wrong belt, the wrong AP rounds then for anti-tank purposes. So I think that the stock belt, the default belt, is actually the better choice. By the way, this scene here is pretty funny because I was extra cheeky. I was putting myself between the enemy spawn and the capture zone, and the enemies just simply didn't expect me here. But again, I digress. So the gun is really cool and powerful, but it has a lot of handling issues, like the lack of gun depression over the side, where it's advertised with 10 degrees, but it's like 3, at best 4 degrees. The next thing is that the recoil is really drastic, and then obviously sometimes the shells just don't penetrate, even though you have enough pen, at least on paper again, for certain tanks. And sometimes it just works like a charm. So the tank is really cool to drive, that's the next thing, but very often you have difficulties because of the maps, inclinations, muddy terrain. The tank doesn't like it. Even in city fights, you have to go through, concrete walls, some other obstacles in your way, and the tank loses all its momentum, which is, I don't like this. And even if you try to come to a standstill, well, you're just spinning around uncontrollably. So all those issues are really killing a little bit the fun of this thing. Arguably, for battle rating 3.0, the firepower, the fact that you have so much potential penetration, that you have APHE rounds, that high rate of fire, I think it shouldn't be the case like this, right? Anyways, the next thing is the talisman. Is this actually a good talisman candidate? Well, it depends on your personal preferences. I personally really loved it to ambush tanks, to switch the ammunition, and to also snipe at aircraft. This is like old school anti-aircraft work. So you have no radar, you have no lead indicator, you don't have crazy good handling, it relies on skill, and sometimes you get those beautiful pilot snipes or you just saw off on wing, even with the AP. Sometimes then you just don't hit the enemy and he strafes you. So this is what I think made War Thunder cool. Vehicles like this, trucks with wheels obviously, and with a single gun in open casemate, where it's really challenging to make it work. It is fun, I love it, and I personally would have put a talisman on it probably anyways after the first 2 battles, but again I was really lucky to get here the right roll of the dice, if you will, from the RNG gods. The one thing that annoys me really is how extremely fragile it is for aircraft. So I have died countless amounts with just single short bursts, as you probably could see in the background. And that is then again, those suicide bombers, even after they have been registered as being dead, they still can kill you. Death to aircraft, death to helicopters. I probably have to check out top tier because of how yeah, helicopters now work out, or you know, I don't have to fight them from the earlier status of the battle. Here, the funny thing is when you have to simply, you know, position yourself and you have to fight around the capture zone, and you have to just simply predict where the aircraft are coming from. You have to dupe their attacks. You have to just simply endure their strafing, but at the same time, you can kill them as easily. So it's like a very weird Mexican standoff between air and ground, and I personally absolutely can't get enough of this. Um, the charm of this vehicle is really there. I cannot really stress out how much I like this kind of playstyle. And again, this is not high tier, this is not premium, this is what you can get for free in the tech tree if you have access to it. And yeah, I think that's then the problem, that the tech tree is again behind a paywall, at least initially. But again, then you can play and you can just grind the civil lines, and then you can play for the tester stars, as it always has been for the last you know, years actually. Well, since the introduction of tanks from the very start. So there we go. Swedish tanks. I'm really looking forward to check more out of them. They are really cool looking, a lot of unique vehicles, and I think Gachen has here managed to implement a lot of unique tanks and also a lot of unique aircraft, although some weapon systems are just by default similar. Um, the thing here is that this is not like the Chinese tech tree where a lot of things are, yeah, obviously copy paste. So Swedish tanks, so far so good, pretty solid nation. I like it. And here, I finally thought, yeah, I can make it, you know, shooting down another bomber. Here is the biplane, I can get him for sure. But anyways, I've promised to show you some pictures after the end. And I think there is one thing that I forgot to say. Ah yeah, stay at home and play War Thunder. Because, you know, in this bad situation that we're all in right now, at least we can get the maximum value out of the social distancing with War Thunder. Well, you always have to see the good stuff in this situation. Anyways, that's it for me today, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you enjoy those few screenshots. And as usual, let me know in the comment section what you think from the early Swedish tanks, if you play them, how it is to play against them. What is your experience? How do you guys like the patch so far? And as usual, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like with it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.